Thank you so much for watching my YouTube channel. Love to have you subscribe. Hello, seriously. And not only subscribe to my YouTube channel, but let's share it with our friends, share it on Facebook, all that stuff. And the reason for that is these are short, fun, but very insightful little videos that we bring to you on a weekly basis. And the jokes at the end are well worth your time. I know, you're like, maybe. Anyways, just make sure you share this with a friend. And I want to, of course, wish you Happy New Year, right? Let's think about it. This is really important that we celebrate this new year, 2021. And I want you to take just a moment to consider. In Psalms 37, verse 3, and it says this in the New King James Version, it says, let's feed on the faithfulness of God. And it says this, dwell in the land and feed on his faithfulness. And I'm bringing this to your attention because I think 2020, this preceding year, has been kind of challenging. And maybe you're thinking, woo, let's turn the chapter and finish that one out and move on to 21. Let's look for better things, right? And I think that's good because it helps us, have hope in the future, that kind of thing. I think that's all very necessary and helpful. However, I want you to take a moment because this verse, feeding on the faithfulness of God, also helps us to appreciate and consider how has God been faithful to us in this preceding year. And I think it's really significant and a very important question to consider. How has God been faithful to you in this preceding year, in 2020? Has God looked after you with maybe your health? Has God taken care of the finances? And you might say, well, yeah, but, and you have these exceptions, right? Well, I still got sick. I still lost my job. I still da-da-da-da-da. And I'm not saying that's bad or minimizing the hardships and the struggles. But today I want us to choose to feed on the faithfulness of God. Those bad things may have happened, or you're like, different bad things happen. But today, let's go back and take an inventory of what God has done over the course of this year. Let's feed on his faithfulness. Because if we choose to accentuate all the negativity, the hard things, the horrible situations we've been through, the crises that we didn't expect and anticipate, plan for, and we look at that stuff, that can be very discouraging and cause us to be kind of down and negative. But if we choose to feed on God's faithfulness, so how has God been faithful to you this year? And I think back over the course of my year, and I can see, I remember in April, we had this heavy duty lockdown thing, right? All of Colorado was shelter at home. And that was really hard on me, feeling like I was getting depressed, and I was watching the COVID numbers and all the reports, and I was like, ugh. And I felt like Holy Spirit said, hey, Sarah, I want you to change some of this. And Holy Spirit coached me on don't watch the news like every 2 hours and look for the updates. And you need to take a walk every day. Get outside, take a walk and clear your head and do a couple other things. And so when I started doing those things, it helped me immensely, helped me not wallow, so to speak, in depression, but really got my head above the water so I could see that God's moving, God's working, helped me refocus. So when I feed on the faithfulness of God, I look at that. I look at things with my kids, how God has been faithful to me this year, helping my kids navigate various situations, jobs, decisions that they've made, decisions that they had to make. What were they going to do in terms of college? God has been faithful, helping me in terms of like all the travel stuff that got changed and adjusted because of COVID and managing that. Looking at finances, God helping with finances in ways that I didn't see that happening. I didn't expect that, but God. And so I just give you some of the personal examples for me, because I think if you go back on your year and you look for God's fingerprints throughout your year, you will see that God has absolutely been alongside you, helping you, strengthening you, encouraging you, and looking after you. Maybe not in all the ways that you thought or you wanted or planned for, or hey, maybe God did things in different ways than you would have done things. Nevertheless, and it talks about this in the prophets, God's ways are higher than our ways. And so when God does things that we don't anticipate, or he moves in ways, answers our prayers in ways that we thought, that's not the way I would answer that, but that's how God answers. And we've got to appreciate and acknowledge that whatever God does is always going to be superior to our personal efforts. And so feeding on the faithfulness of God. How has God helped you this year? Where are his fingerprints? What have you seen God do over the course of this year? And maybe you want to take just a couple minutes after we finish here. Maybe you want to write some of those things down. God has been faithful to me. This and this and this and this and this. And I think that's such a helpful exercise, because what it does is it builds confidence for you that God next year, when the calendar changes and we finish out 2020 and we open up a new year, 21, that God has been faithful to you, and we have confidence that God will be faithful to you. Because that's his character. That's the character of God, and the integrity of God is to remain steady and faithful. So I want to just thank you so much for subscribing. I want to thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey with me and exploring YouTube. It's kind of a fun adventure. And of course, you want to hit the notification bell right there so you get updates when we post new content. Maybe you want to share this with your friends, and really appreciate you doing that. But as you finish this time, as we think about this message, just take a moment and answer this question for me. You can put it in the comments there. What is the biggest way you've seen God be faithful in 2020? What is the most noteworthy? And just answer that. What is the biggest way you've seen God be faithful in this year, 2020? So thank you so much for doing that. All very encouraging. And we're going to finish with this fantastic joke, maybe the best one of all 2020, which is a very low threshold. I understand that. Here it is nonetheless. What part of the body always loses? What part of the body always loses? Defeat. Oh, next week will be way better. Thanks again for watching.